Hey, what's up guys? My name's Pierre. On Stars I play as XBT boy, but I play on GG mostly now, and I thought it would be cool to start uploading some videos on YouTube. So we will just do a hand history today of the 20 biggest pots that I played last month in June. And yeah, I have no idea if I'll do this consistently or if I'll stop, but I just felt like uploading a video and let's see where it goes. So this is the first hand. So I was playing a mix of 100 PLO and 200 PLO last month. Queen 10 8 8, I think it's good enough to flat. And once the 3-bet comes around and this guy also flats, I believe we have to call. So on the flop, I mean, this guy decides to pot with a gutter and the nut flush draw, and I guess it's okay. And I mean, I can't really do anything with my hand other than shove. Yeah, this looks quite standard, so nothing really to note here. If there's an interesting hand, I might look it up in PLO Trainer or something, but yeah, this seems quite standard. Okay, so this guy limps, so he's obviously not going to be a reg. I decide to limp behind with ace jack 5-4, and somehow this ends up being a huge pot. So what happens here? Alright, so it checks through. On the flop I have absolutely nothing, so yeah. On the turn we turn possibly the best card in the deck. Alright, so this guy actually flopped a set, this guy flopped top 2, and the turn is where stuff really starts to happen. So the guy with the set leads out, and this guy, who appears to be a reg, also well, he decides to raise his hand with top 2, and well, I have a wrap with the nut flush draw, so I am definitely not going anywhere, so I decide to call. Okay, this short stack decides to jam, and this guy has the opportunity to shove, or like basically put in 100 big blinds. We are 200 big blinds effective. And I mean, my hand's just too strong, like I'm not folding. So I call, and we river like one of the 2 best cards in the deck, the 4 or 5. Or even the ace would be good, I guess. But yeah, we hit the straight. This flush doesn't come in, so it's not very obvious. The guy who jammed checks, and we put the rest of our money in, and he decides to call. To be honest, like, this isn't really a spot where I'd be bluffing very much, because, I mean, if I'm bluffing, I probably lose to this small blind anyways. Although there's a pretty big side pot, so actually that's probably not true. I would bluff more than never for sure. Okay, so yeah, I didn't think about that. And this guy, well, he decides to call with his top 2 pair. Tough decision, I guess, but we win. That is a big pot. How many big blinds did we win? 400 big blinds. Alright, nice. Okay, so here, what even happened pre-flop? Like, I guess I RFI'd pre-flop? No, I think this guy RFI'd and I called. I could 3-bet. No, maybe I 3-bet. It's not actually showing what happened. There's a straddle. Where's the straddle? Oh, it might be one of those cash drop pots. I have no idea. Anyways, this guy decides to shove, and I guess I'm not going anywhere with my hand. Wait, it's a straddle pot, or like... Why is everyone straddling? I'm really confused at what's going on here, but somehow the money goes in pre-flop with all of our hands. Let's see what happens. We flop quite well. Yeah, we have a lot of equity here, 42%. We turn the straight, and we hold. I'm not sure exactly what happened pre-flop, but I won. Cool. Okay. Alright, so this player limps, probably a fish. This player ISOs, seems standard. I decide to flat with King Jack 10-9. There could be some argument for 3-betting, but I decide not to. I guess given this guy's ISOing, he might have a slightly stronger range. I don't know. I don't expect many folds also. Oh, we flop. Really nice. We have a wrap and a flush draw and mid pair. We have the nut wrap actually. And this guy flopped a set. This guy has the ace of diamonds with a queen and a gutter. Okay, this guy decides to c-bet with his hand with the ace of diamonds and a queen and a gutter. This guy also flats, and I also flat with my hand. Alright, this is definitely a spot where I could raise. I have a ton of equity. Only problem is if I jam, I'm unlikely to fold out better flush draws still. But yeah, jamming could definitely be an option, but I decide to just flat. On the turn, this guy pots. I mean, the guy with the set is going to jam, obviously, and yeah, I don't really think we can fold with a flush draw and a wrap. So we get the money in, and we hit the wrap. All right, that's a great result. No lost pots yet. Cool. 300 big blinds go my way. Jack, Jack, 8-8. We ISO. We get 3-bet by aces. And we're not going anywhere with Jack, Jack, 8-8. The player with aces flops a boat. And yeah, he should see bet probably range on this flop. On 2-2-10. Or close to range. We could potentially check raise the... No, actually... Actually, I'm somewhat interested here. Like, do we have a check raising range here? Because on a 2-2-10 flop, like the twos are really blanks. I don't think we actually get to do much check raising, to be honest. So let's see. Cut off button. Flop is paired. Two-tone. 2-2. We do not have any 2-2 flop. Oh, we have 8-3-3. Good enough. How deep are we? Oh, we are extremely deep. So this won't be totally accurate, but yeah, he bets range. Do I get to check raise? Oh wow, I do get to check raise. A lot more than I thought. I have 7% trips somehow. Okay. So I just had a... yeah, I had an overpair. Okay. So one pair, overpair, I believe I would need... yeah, we don't get to raise these, so... let's see, Jack, Jack, 7-7 maybe? Yeah, we are not raising this. What do we get to raise? Ace, King, King. Ace, Queen, Queen. Like a few kings get to raise. I guess it's mainly for value, to be honest. Pretty interesting. Anyways, we turn the full house, so... this is a very large sizing. I mean, he's saying he's gonna jam the river, I guess, but I still don't think he has to make it this big. I mean, if he wants to jam the river, I guess that's the sizing to use, but I think in general on a paired board, there's in position, especially there's not much need to pot it. I decide to jam. Again, maybe I should just click it here. But I feel like if he has, let's say, aces with a flush draw, or any two, I don't think he's gonna fold. There could also be an argument for calling, slow playing our hand. Maybe we can donk a few rivers for some reason. But yeah, I decided to jam, and yeah, it's just cooler for him. I don't really see how he can get away from his hand, to be honest, in a 3-bet pot. Unfortunate for him, since we're both extremely deep. We can look at this actually a bit. So we call. Is it possible to get post-flop 200 big blind sims? Cut off, button, there's no turns for that. Okay, so let's not bother looking at that then. So we have aces here, we raise pre-flop and get 3-bet by king 7-5-3. And this guy cold calls, and me and this guy are extremely deep. So this is why instead of 4-betting, I decide to call my hand than 4-bet, because I don't think my hand is great against a 4-bet. I mean, it's not the strongest aces we can have, although I could be wrong here. So let's look at some pre-flop sims here. So we don't have GG 200 big blinds, so we'll have to use this. Not heads up. Yeah. 200 big blinds deep, PLO 500. I mean, this is a bit different because I don't think we're going to slow play many aces. Yeah, we're not slow playing any aces, at least single suited aces, when there's a cold caller. But let's say this guy does not cold call. I think we would be slow playing a lot more aces now, so no. Okay. We're only flatting the very worst aces, so this should have been a 3-bet preflop, a 4-bet preflop, and I don't think we would have folded on this flop. Anyways, small blind decides to jam, or like half pot, which I guess is a thing. And I have aces with a gutter. I don't expect this guy to have what he has. His hand, I don't believe, is a 3-bet, or maybe it is at 200 big blinds. I'm not extremely comfortable at the stacked depth, as you see. Yeah, his hand is just a fold at this stacked depth. Okay, so he's 3-betting a hand he shouldn't, but it worked out because I lost all my stack here. So this guy flops the uber nuts. Ace queen 3. Yeah, I think we should just call and see what this guy does, to be honest, because like we can definitely get the money in against this guy, but we're 200 big blinds deep against this guy. Maybe at 100 big blinds jamming is fine, which is what I do. I think it's a mistake. And yeah, we have close to 0%, so that was not very good by me. Okay. Okay, we got a heads-up pot here. We are 200 big blinds deep. I 3-bet aces. Seems quite standard so far. Okay, we c-bet. He calls with his top set, which is quite standard. On the turn, we have the super wrap with aces, and yeah, it seems like quite a good spot to keep barreling here. Could potentially check raise maybe. Yeah, we do expect him to be betting quite often. I mean, we're interested in getting all the money in, no matter what he has, such as top boat. We're going to be in great shape. I don't think I'm not sure what's best. I think having the ace of hearts and king of hearts makes me want to bet rather than check raise, because he's probably going to check back more of his weaker flush draws. He jams. I get the money in, like not much else to do. I don't think we're folding any river when there's like 40 big blinds left. And he holds. So I do lose this pot. Cool. This ace 9 8 5. This is kind of marginal. I don't know if this is an open. Let's see. Ace 9 8 5. It is an open suited to the ace. Cool. We get 3-bet by a reasonable hand. Maybe we can fold. The thing is, we're also really deep, so Let's see, we probably need the 200 big blind. Oh, I keep getting the heads up sims. So ace 9, 8, 5, ace 9, 8, 5. Yeah, so at 200 big blinds we cannot open our hand. At 100 big blinds we can. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, I have not studied much 200 big blind sims, so you know, things are a bit different and I'll be making more mistakes at such a deep stack depth. And we can actually fold to a 3-bet, so I think this is a leak many people have. They continue too wide against 3-bets, and I'm not an exception, it seems like. So what do I flop? I flop a nut flush draw with a gutter, right? Yeah, that's all I have. Yeah, nut flush draw with a gutter. This guy flops 2 pair with a straight draw and a weak flush draw. I do get to lead. I'm quite certain I get to lead, but I decide not to this time. Maybe I'm going for the check raise, which makes sense. No, I decide to call. I probably decide to call because we're so deep. I think 100 big blinds deep I'd be pretty comfortable either leading or check raising, but 200 big blinds, it's a bit awkward. Like, I'm actually kind of curious, like, do we get to lead a lot? Let's say EP button. Do we get to lead more or less when we're so deep? So 7, 5, 4. So let's bring us straight here. We have the flop. We lead 30%. I think it's slightly less than at 100 big blinds deep, but still. Ace 9, 8, 5. Yeah, this does get to do a good amount of leading, and especially with the nut flush draw, it looks like we do want to lead this hand. We also don't hate leading without any backdoor flush draw, for example, or like just no hearts. Without hearts you can go either way, but with hearts, with the ace-high flush draw, we tend to prefer leading. Right, anyways, once he bets, ace 9, 8, 5. Yes, we do call it. Okay. So now we have trips. And he barrels, and obviously I'm not going anywhere. Oh, sorry, I'm the person in position. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, this is me. I'm the guy who's betting. Cool. This guy is not gonna fold, yeah, I mean, seems quite standard so far. And then on the river, we have the straight flush, and he has the nut flush. He decides to donk pot, which I think is a thing. I think it could be a thing, but I have the absolute nuts, so I'm more than happy to jam. Yeah, there's only 33 big blinds left, so I don't think he's folding any of his value hands, really. Could have some bluffs, maybe, but that's a nice big pot for us. In the next hand, we have 9, 9, 5, 6. I guess we're gonna... Okay, this guy decides to min 3-bet. This guy has ace, king, jack, 8. He 4-bets against the min 3-bet, and this isn't too fun, but we're super deep. So I think being this deep, I'm gonna join in to the action. I'm not sure if it's GTO or not, but I like this hand. Wow. Yeah, this is this is quite complicated. I flop the nut open-ender with a weak flush draw. This guy has the nut flush draw, a backdoor flush draw, backdoor straight draw, and that's about it. He doesn't have a pair. I think he does better by calling, to be honest, because like, he can definitely fold a few turns. I might check on some turns. And And like on many other turns, it's a clear get the money in, such as if he hits a pair, or like a 10 gives him a wrap, for example. So I think I'd rather call if I was him. I don't know about my shove. This is quite interesting. 200 big blinds, 3-bet pot. We'll just say it's a 3-bet pot because the action was so weird. Queen 3, 4. Let's see, unpaired, two-tone. So this will obviously be somewhat inaccurate of a sim because, well, the positions are wrong and the action is wrong. But I don't know, if we somehow have 7, 8, 9, 9. Okay, 7, 8, 10, 10. Yeah, our hands are meant to check. Okay. Our hand's meant to check, so I did not play well. Anyways, like once I pot, I guess we have to get it in. So I played badly, slightly ahead on the turn, slightly behind on the flop, slightly ahead on the turn, and we end up holding. So that's a big pot for us. King, Queen, 7, 5. This might not be an open. Pre-flop. So King, Queen, 7, 5, it's quite marginal. Yeah, we need it to be double suited. King, Queen, 7, 6, 7, 8. Okay. These hands are very bad to open, so that's what I found out. Yeah, I don't like my pre-flop here. This guy is standard 3-bet. We flop top pair with a flush draw. So yeah, I think betting our hand is reasonable. It's not something I have to do all the time, but top pair with a flush draw makes a lot of sense to bet. This guy decides to check call with his hand, which is a bit weird. I think in general he's just meant to bet his hand and take the fold equity, and he can turn quite well. And then he decides to donk with 3/4 pot, which isn't a thing. But I can't really fold the second nut flush. He jams the river. To be honest, like, I think I should fold in reality, because like no one takes this line as a bluff. I haven't found many people taking such a line as a bluff. It very much seems like value, and I think I should make a fold here, but I decide to call with the second nuts, which you're supposed to do in GTO, but yeah, I think I should fold this hand, given the action. And obviously he's got the nut flush. Not very proud of myself for that one. Ace, Ace, King, 6, we open, we get 3-bet. We're going to 4-bet, obviously. Even though we're very deep, we're still gonna 4-bet. Suited to the ace, definitely good enough. He jams. I don't have very much, to be honest. I just have naked aces. I think in reality, people are not jamming enough sets or 2 pairs, which they're meant to be doing. So that works in our favor. And people will just be jamming like too many like straight draws or like pair plus straight draw type of stuff, which still have a good equity against our hand. As we see here, our EV is flipping. And yeah, I decide to put the money in. It's a reg, so against a fish, I think I could find a fold. Against a reg, I'm gonna give him enough respect to like stack off here. So we turn an ace on the first one, and the second time we also hold. So we scoop the big pot. A lot of these hands are just gonna be quite standard. 10-10 Jack 6. Okay, we 3-bet. We get 3-bet by the big blind. And, oh, this one's unfortunate. I mean, he c-bets half pot. We should just call most of our sets, which is what I do. And he's gonna pot the turn. And I think this is a good time to put the money in. With the jack blocker, we're very confident we have the best hand. Unfortunately, I only have 2.5% equity. There's nothing to do here. Very standard hand. King Jack 2. This is one of our weaker opens on the gun, but I'm pretty sure it's still an open. And we get called by King 10 7 6. He's obviously a recreational player. He flops top 2 pair. So we see bet the flop. He's going to put in a check raise, which is very good for us. On such a dry board, like, he either has a lower set or a 2 pair. He could have a wrap, given his statistics. He could have some type of wraps, given his stats. But the board's so dry, and we block a 2, which lowers the chance of there coming a straight. We have a backdoor flush draw, so we're not as worried about future runouts. So I think it's a good spot to just flat against the check raise. So that's what I do. He turns 3 pair, he pots. The board opens up a lot more straight draws, and I think on some rivers we're less likely to get value. He seems quite committed at this point. I don't think he's going to fold, so I'm just going to jam my hand, and I do have 100% equity here. So that's 336 big blinds going my way. Over here we have ace queen jack 9. Okay, so under the gun limps. This guy isolates, it's a reg. This guy, who's been very tight so far, but probably a reg, we don't have much info on him, he decides to 3-bet, which I think is quite reasonable. And I come in for the cold 4-bet, deciding, okay, you know, this guy's limping and this guy's isoing, so this guy has a weak range most likely. This guy's isolating a limper, so it's a strong range, but definitely not just aces. This guy's 3-betting the isolator, so like, he could have aces, but at the same time, this guy, like, he might just be 3-betting against a reg who's isolating a fish, so it could be something like that. So it makes sense to have a 4-bet range here wider than just aces, and I do believe this is actually like GTO 4-bet. So let's say it just RFI cutoff, this guy pots, and we're in the big blind here. I do believe we can 4-bet this hand. Yeah, so ace queen jack 9. A lot of these types of hands can 4-bet, so ace high connected Broadway we can 4-bet half the time. Even non-Broadway we can be 4-betting a lot. So yeah, if we have double suited connected ace, these seem to be great hands to 4-bet. I think it works really well, to be honest, because yeah, sometimes we can be up against aces, which sucks, but and also I think it's important to note this guy seems tight, but he's 3-bet 18% so far. I mean, it's not that big a sample, but still, it's something. So I definitely think he has much more than only aces. So against these ranges, I think this 4-bet makes a lot of sense. And even if they call too wide, I think it's good to have more than just aces, because like when you have 2 suits, you're more likely to hit a flush draw on the flop, and then with this type of hand, you can just dominate the flush draws a lot. You can dominate the straight draws. Like if you get in a 4-bet pot with pocket aces, a lot of times you'll just have pocket aces and nothing else on the flop. But when you 4-bet with this type of hand, you'll usually have more than just one pair. So I think this is a good spot to 4-bet. This guy jams. I mean, yeah. The flop is good for both of us. Oh, by the way, his hand is a clear fall to the 4-bet. Like, you should not call any single suited hands with an ace in it. It's just losing a ton of EV, especially against people's 4-betting ranges, because people 4-bet mostly aces and not much else. Maybe I'm an exception. Maybe I actually construct my 4-bet range better than most people. Well, certainly not in all situations, but in this situation I'll try to play a bit closer to GTO. And ace king 10-9 is definitely a fold, given this action. Anyway, he flops very well. I flop quite well as well, with a nut open-ender and top pair, and a backdoor flush draw. This guy flops mid-pair, gutter, and yeah, both of us are clearly not folding on this flop. And we do hold to win the pot. That's nice. King, king, queen, jack. This is not a GTO 3-bet, but the reason that I 3-bet is because this is a fish. He's a very aggressive fish with 70% VPIP, 36% PFR, and 18% 3-bet. So I'm happy to isolate this player with my kings. And he calls. And on the flop, he checks, and I decide to check back on this flop. I think my hand has decent showdown value. We don't have many properties that would make him fold, like we don't have any straight blockers, we don't have a flush blocker. So I think it's a pretty clear check on our end. On the turn, he's gonna pot it, which is quite scary. So maybe I need to fold, but like, given my read on him that he's extremely aggressive, he does probe 57%, which is a lot. So yeah, I decide to just make the call here. On the ace, he jam. No, oh, wait. He pots. Like, I don't think people bluff enough here. And to be honest, if he's bluffing, yeah, I raised. I don't like the raise. Like, if he is bluffing, I think calling's better. I don't see him folding an ace if he has an ace. So, like, I don't see the point of jamming at all. So if I think he's really bluffing, I should just call here. This jam's pretty bad. I lost an extra 40 big blinds. And to be honest, I could probably just fold, right? Like he pots twice. It's quite tough to fold against these crazy aggressive fish. And I find myself just closing my eyes and calling down quite often. But yeah, I think like pot is quite strong, even from a very aggressive fish. So I think I should just fold. And if I don't fold, calling's better, and jamming's definitely the worst. That was pretty terribly played by me. King Jack Jack 7, I decide to isolate the fish. Seems fine. This other fish joins in the pot. We get a three-way flop. We flop. We flop top set. We're probably not meant to c-bet too much, but we're playing two fish, so I want to get value, and I don't think they're gonna bet enough of their weak hands. And since we kind of block everything, like, I'd rather just build a pot myself, which is what I do. On the turn, many straights complete, but we have the top set with the second nut flush draw. So even against a straight, we have a huge amount of equity. As we see here, he's got the nut straight, we have 43% equity. So, like, you can do whatever you want here. Yeah, GTO would bet sometimes, check sometimes with these type of hands. 7's good, it blocks a few straights. It doesn't block Queen 10, which was only a naked gutter. But yeah, we could really do anything. I decided to bet half pot here. It represents that I'm using a more merged range here, rather than like polarizing to sets only. So that makes sense. I like betting half pot in these spots rather than full pot, because people, like especially fish, tend to raise too much with the straights. So I know that if they call, they're less likely to have Queen 10, and they may have some other stuff. And if they do raise, I'm still quite happy to get the money in. So we get one more call. This guy jams. We're gonna reshove. Yeah, there's not much money left. I'm never folding any river, so yeah. Once this guy shoves, we have to put the rest of our money in. We're basically flipping, and he wins both runs. The turn was probably the most interesting part. You can barrel, you can check call, you can check raise. A bit of everything is fine. Ace, ace, king, 4 double. Beautiful hand. Okay, this is a simple money going in pre-flop. Okay, we flop the absolute nuts, and that's it. Cool, nothing else to say. Aces again, against aces again, so the money goes in pre-flop. Okay, so the play with aces isolates totally standard. This guy flats the isolation, he's obviously a fish, 43, 19-8, with a terrible hand. This guy 4-bets, and he decides to flat against the 4-bet with his hand, which is not recommended, but somehow he ends up having the highest equity in the hand. And we flop a flush draw, turn a wrap, so we're 50% to win on the turn, but this guy hits his 2-pair on the river, and we lose a big pot, so not much to do there. This is a fish, he's limping. We limp behind with 7-7-5-4. It's not a very nice hand. If he raised, I'd definitely fold, but he's limping, so I'll play some marginal hands. Okay, we're gonna play a multi-way pot with this hand in position now. We flop open-ender with flush draw. Bad flush draw, so not great, not amazing. We have to call. We have to call with an open-ender and a flush draw. So that's what we do. And we turn the nuts with a super redraw. So now we're a huge favorite. He pots, or like he bets quite large. And yeah, we're gonna jam our hand with like all the redraws in the world. He's a fish, so I don't think he's folding too much. And there could be a case for slow playing, but even GTO would prefer to barrel, to raise with extra equity rather than without. So I think this is quite standard, and we do hold 2 times. Ace, king, 6-5. I'm 3-betting this, seems quite standard. King, 9, 7-7. He calls the 3-bet. He's betting half pot, which is good. I think his hand is a pretty natural bluff, having pocket 7s with a gutter and without an ace. So yeah, we have 2 pairs, so we're just gonna check call. We do not get to c-bet on this flop, like at all, I believe. And you could potentially check raise some 2 pairs, although I think you'd want something like maybe a straight draw with it in order to check raise. So I think, especially with 2 backdoor flush draws, it makes a lot of sense to check call. On the turn, he's potting, which I don't think he has to do, right? Like, he can pot, like he can get all the money in if he bets like even half pot, because it's going to be like 100 big blinds on the turn. There'll be about 100 big blinds left, so he doesn't need to pot. Like, it doesn't really make that much sense. Maybe 3/4 pot to make up for this stack size difference. But yeah, life is not fun for us right now because all we have is a 2 pair. But certainly in GTO world, I'm pretty sure this is not a fold. So we did decide to call. On the river, he decides to shove. And we have triple pair now. He's basically repping a straight at this point, and we would probably have check raised the straight by this point, to be honest. And so we have to make some pretty light call downs here with hands that are not straights, and this seems like one of the best candidates to do it, having 3 pairs and rivering the ace. It's really quite hard to fold here, especially since people are probably meant to bet like some sets and stuff. I think this is a decent call down, and we do catch the bluff this time. So I'm kind of a bit interested in the spot. So we'll do small blind, big blind, 100 big blinds deep. In reality, we were closer to 150, but this will do. So 6-5-4, we do have the flop, perfect. So I guess we're checking range. Yes, we are checking range. And yeah, he's betting a ton here. So 7-7-9 king, it's a very clear bet for him. And our hand, I believe it's just a check call, but let's see. Oh, we can raise a lot. Yeah, they're all double suited. We can raise a lot. What we do see is that we raise more without the backdoor, without two backdoor flush draws. So two backdoor flush draws always raise. BDFD1 always raises. BDFD2 is mixing. So I think especially given our stack depth, it makes a lot of sense just to call our hand. Okay, the turn was a blank jack. Yeah, perfect. I don't think we get to donk. Nope. And as we see, his sizing should only be half pot, but maybe because we're so deep, it's what he's doing is okay. And yeah, he is meant to barrel a ton, 70%, okay. I don't think our hand's going anywhere. We do not have it in our range, perfect. Let's say, do we get to fold any, we do not get to fold any two pairs. So if we have top two, so if we turn the jack, we have to raise. So we can't really be too afraid of the straight here. And in fact, we do have a lot of straights in our range. They're meant to slow play a lot. So that's also quite important to note. Yeah, we can, at this point, we slow play all our straights that have a pair or more, but we can raise without a pair. Cool. Similar thing for the second nuts. And we're actually just going to put the rest of our money in with top two. So yeah, if we do have 6-5 or something like that, we're not going to be folding still. Rivers brings an ace. I'd be surprised if we get the donk, but maybe. Wow, wow, wow. That's not what I expected. We can pot 62% of our range. That is so weird. Not our two pairs. We cannot jam our two pairs, but all of our straights and sets are jamming, and if we have a one pair, which is not much, but if we have a one pair, we are going to be turning it into a bluff a lot. Anyways, I'm glad that two pairs are checking at least. And yeah, I think his hand is fine to shove. Like, oh, he's meant to give up. Alright, let's say 7-7, no. 8, no. 3, no ace, no jack, no 6, no 5, no 4. Okay, so his sevens are mixing on the river. Okay, so these are the best blockers on the board, obviously, and he has to give up half of them. So he's jamming more with blocker type of stuff to the straight. I guess that's because in GTO we have a lot of straights still in our range. In reality, people have a lot less straights than GTO in this spot. So if you're disconnected, like if you have queens or kings or like any king or queen really, we're meant to check a lot. And if we're connected to the board, that's when we can jam a bit more. All right, that's quite interesting. We're calling half the time. Our two pairs are still not really folding, and yeah. Like we can, by this point, if we have bear 6-5, 5-4, we can fold. But if we rivered the ace, we're basically not going to be folding on this river. Apparently the ace is very good for us. And so yeah, it looks like I played the hand well. I don't hate the way villain played, even though on the river it's a bit optimistic. I mean, even though in GTO on the river it's not really good by him, I think in reality it's probably fine. And you're gonna see a lot of people fold these type of hands in reality, I think. Yeah, but this is a spot where this player just has like a huge advantage and can really put people under a ton of pressure. So like, yeah, I think a lot of people would fold my hand on the turn or river quite often. Cool, but we end up winning that pot. And that is it for the review. So hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. If you want me to keep doing this, I don't know. As I said, I have no idea if I'll keep doing this. I just thought it could be a bit fun. And that's gonna be it for today. Ciao.